Empire.
What's up? How you doing, Nick?
I know.
Good to see you, man.
It's good to see you as well. Welcome back to Empire Steakhouse.
Oh, thank you.
Pleasure to have you.
Listen, I got my new best friend here, Lisa.
Hi,
How are you?
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Chef Velic is ready to show you how to make our mayo lamb crab cake.
All right, let's go.
This way.
Yours. Yours.
We've been in a lot of kitchens, but this is an Empire kitchen. Empire Steakhouse. Chef Bolivar, you're going to show us how to make Jim Leyritz's favorite dish. It's a crab cake. But this is not your ordinary crab cake, right?
No.
This is a hearty crab cake.
Yes.
What do we need to make this crab cake?
Special sauce,
Special sauce.
little mustard, mayo, Old Bay season.
So mustard, mayo, and a little Old Bay seasoning. That's for your special sauce.
Special sauce. This is roasted red and yellow peppers,
Roasted red and yellow peppers.
panko breadcrumbs,
Panko breadcrumbs.
jumbo, lamb crab meat.
Ah, the crab meat. We gotta have the crab meat in the crab cake, right?
Yes.
What do we do next?
Mix all ingredients.
Now we mix all the ingredients. Okay. The first one is the special sauce.
Next is the red and yellow peppers,
Perfect.
the panko breadcrumbs,
Panko breadcrumbs.
and lastly the crab meat.
This is gonna be the best crab cake ever, chef.
Mix everything.
Do we want to break up these lumps here, the crab meat, or you want to keep a couple lumps? Keep it lumpy? Okay.
Yes.
Because you want that nice piece of crab when you take a bite out of it.
Yes.
All right, so it's mixed up. What's next?
I form the crab cake. Pass in the plate, please.
Passing a plate. So this is what you need to make the crab cake. Okay.
And then I put this one in the fork.
So it's a nice mold. Do you press it nice and tight?
Yes.
We see all the ingredients. This is looking good, chef.
Yeah.
What do we do after you make the mold?
Then I put a little panko breadcrumbs on the top
Panko on the top
and the other side too.
and on the other side.
Yeah. Now I put it in a saute pan, like 2-3 minutes in each side.
Saute pan, 2 to 3 minutes each side.
Yeah.
Sounds simple. And then it's ready?
No, then I put it for 5 minutes in the oven. I heat it up a little more.
Heat it up in the oven 5 minutes, and then it's done.
Then it's done.
All right. You finish up here. I'm going to head back to the table.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, you know how to play ball. Look at all this here.
You know, that's what retirement does for you.
All right, now first I have to have you try this crab cake. This is your favorite. I had a little hand. Chef did most of the work.
Okay.
Good, great
All right, here you go. You try that, and we have so much fantastic
Would you
food
like some?
here. Yes, thank you very much.
There you go, Nick.
Nick?
Thank you.
All right. Nick, what do we have over here? These potatoes?
Those are German potatoes.
All right. These are not part of my Atkins diet, but hey.
And of course, we have to get into this meat. Now, filet over here, porterhouse.
Yeah.
I'll start with our signature dish, which is the dry aged porterhouse. Dry aged from 21 to 28 days, which is a prime. Comes cooked to perfection, sizzling to the table, and doesn't really need any seasoning. This is a sirloin part of the porterhouse.
Thank you, sir.
This is the filet mignon part.
Look how tender that is.
You know, when I cook at home, I could never get it that way.
What's your specialty,
Well, I'm
Jim?
a barbecue kind of guy. I cook steaks probably twice a week.
There are so many different steakhouses in New York. What sets you guys apart?
The Empire Dream began in the year 2010. Our family that dreamt about having restaurants like this are from Montenegro. Jack, Jeff, and Russ are Sina and I. It's three brothers. They have 2 locations. One on 36 West 52nd Street. While Sina,
That's where you and I first originally met.
that's exactly right, now under construction. This location is you. We have an extensive wine list, which is about 375 different bottles to choose from, awarded by a wine spectator for the excellency, and also 5-star Diamond Award. Here we are open breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Jim, they're open for breakfast. Taking back to those championship years. What was it like for you sitting down and just eating with all the guys?
We were usually celebrating, coming off a good season. The harder part was what restaurant we were going to pick. Yeah, that's the thing I love about New York fans. They know to respect your dinner. When a guy's eating, they're like, hey, you know what, we're not going to bother him. That's what the New York fans are all about. They're about celebrating winners. And if you're one of those guys, why not embrace the city? I was one of the few players in the early 90s that lived in the city. And my mother and father are from Cincinnati. When I told them I was taking the 4 train to the field every day, the subway, they were like, are you crazy? You know,
Did you really?
Yeah. One of the things that Derek Jeter was just doing his documentary, he was talking about was the day that we won in 96. And you know, Derek was a rookie. He was not used to being in the city. I had been in the city for 5 years. We overslept a little bit because we had been out celebrating the night before. And the parade parade was that day. So we came out of my building on 64th and 2nd, and it was nuts. The traffic was backed up everywhere. They were expecting 4 million people. And I said to the officer that was standing there, can you give us an escort down to the parade? We got to get down there. He's like, Jimmy, he said, you're not getting down there in a car. He said, you guys got to take the subway. So I said, Derek, let's go. And we went down, we got on the subway, and it was the greatest experience. And I think Derek said it was the greatest experience he ever had, because we were celebrating with the fans. And they were like, no way you guys are on the subway. No way you're going to the same place we are. So yeah, it was a pretty cool experience.
And back then, you didn't have everyone who had the cell phone cameras and were taking selfies
Exactly,
and trying to get
exactly. That did save us. That did save us. Yes.
What's one memorable moment you had from a fan?
There was an article that came out in the paper, in the New York Post, about 2 little boys, Yankee fans. They wanted to go to a Yankee game, and they wanted a dad. They were foster children. And my wife at the time was pregnant with our second child. And she said to me, you know what, we should take these kids to a game. We called the New York Post and said, listen, we want to take these kids to the game. We got a limo for them. All of a sudden, we got a phone call. And Nick Scarpetta, at the time, was part of Children's Services. He calls up and says, listen, we wanted to make this really special. And they said, well, let's have lunch over at the All-Star Cafe. And then all of a sudden, when we were at the All-Star Cafe, Mayor Giuliani joined us. Long story short, the 2 boys came to the game. They got to meet all the players. During the season, we were talking about the 96 home run. I was getting phone calls all morning about the home run. And finally, the last one, I just said, no more phone calls. And it happened to be the Susan Forrest. And she said, it's not about baseball. She said, I want to let you know that yesterday, during the day, before you hit your home run at night, those 2 little boys got adopted into a family. And then that was, to me, that was like, listen, the home run was great, but that right there was something that was great. In November of that year, they invited my wife and I up for their adoption. The little boy, Jimmy, stood up. He was 9 years old at the time. He had 2 little boxes, and they handed them to my wife and I, and he had a little number 13 necklace on, and it was 2 number 13 necklaces. And he said he wanted us to wear those, so we were always part of a family. Then he stood up, and this is when, like, tears came out and everything. He stood up and said, Mr. Leyritz, I have to ask you a personal question. I would like to take your name, Jimmy Leyritz Cortez, officially. I had the paperwork done. I mean, it's something you couldn't, you can't dream of. And to this day, I mean, I still run into him, still see him once in a while. Not as much as I want to, but yeah, it was quite an experience. And again, that was part of the New York thing and being part of it. And the worst thing that happened for me was to leave in '97 because I had just started really getting involved with the adoption agencies here and couldn't continue that.
Kind of puts life in perspective.
Oh, exactly. I'm sitting there not taking phone calls because I don't want to talk about the home run anymore. And then all of a sudden, they talk about these little boys, and I'm like, my home run doesn't mean anything. It was pretty special. Pretty special.
It's a great story.
That is a great story. And Nick, you have a lot of fans of the restaurant here.
Mark Messier, Lawrence Saylor, Charles Palminteri. We have Jackie Mason comes in a lot.
You're in good company.
So I'm here today on behalf of Jack, Jeff, and Russ. So I'm happy to work for.
Well, they'll be very proud of everything you put together here. This has been a treat. Let's do a little cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Jim.
Cheers.
Good to have you.
Nick.
Thank
you as always.
Thank you.